If I had one game this week, I think it's got to be Texas Tech BYU. Now, is it a big game? No, it's not. Unless you are Joey McGuire at Texas Tech and Kalani Sitake at BYU.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think it's a must win if these two teams are going to be bowl eligible, and one of them will not. That is my prediction. Texas Tech or BYU, not both of these teams are going to a bowl, I don't think. Whoever wins this game is probably going to be bowl eligible. And I think, and I don't know what you think, Jake, I think it is far, far, far more important for Texas Tech to win this game.
Yeah, I think that Joey, just with the way the season's gone on, he needs this one. And I hate saying that about teams, and I hate that, they're in the position they are, but you look at their schedule and it's not easy the rest of the way here. I mean, the problem is let's say you lose to BYU here. Then you've got home for TCU, on the road for Kansas, home for UCF, and auto loss to Texas. You're losing to Texas. Like, I don't even say that jokingly. That's a loss. You know that. So if we know that Texas is a loss, we know that TCU and Josh Hoover are feeling nice. We know that Kansas is very different depending on who's playing quarterback. So if you say we're going to lose to BYU, we find a way to lose to TCU. Let's say we beat Kansas and UCF and we lose to Texas. That's not enough. That's only, what is that, 5 wins? I mean, that's not good enough. So that's why I say but the better scenario, obviously, is you beat BYU. Let's say you beat TCU. I think you're probably going to lose to Kansas since that's on the road. You beat UCF, and then you lose to Texas. At least then you're 6. So that's why I say for Joey McGuire, the ability to say, hey, yeah, we were bowl eligible this year. That's going to be huge because then you can tell a more positive story. Hey, we grinded out. Tyler Shuck had a season-ending injury. We moved along to Morton, and then we just grinded it out, and we embodied Texas Tech football. No, we weren't a 10-win team. We weren't a New Year's Six Bowl team,
right?
But we at least have something positive to say. So that's why I say this is for Joey McGuire. It's crucial that you're bowl eligible. Now, for Kalani and the Cougars, I don't think it's crucial you're bowl eligible in year 1. I think if you're bowl eligible in year 1 in the Big 12, you're no pun intended, you're doing God's work. Honestly, you are way overachieving at BYU. If year 1 in the Big 12, you're bowl eligible. So for me, when I look at this game, it is a big game in my opinion. By any type of standard, this is a national TV game. It's a big game, but I think this is a much bigger game for Joey than it is for Kalani with where they're at.
Yeah, and I think this Baron Morton situation is massive. I mean, I have to think Jake Strong gets the start. For those who didn't hear, Morton's been dealing with a shoulder injury. Tyler Shuck obviously is out for the year or most of it. And I think you could tell that Morton wasn't right. And then he got beat up pretty good against K-State. Strong finished. I think if Strong plays, I have real questions about his ability to drive them to a win. But here's the truth. BYU has not been great on defense. Is the defense better this year than it has been historically? Absolutely. There's no question about that. But the defense hasn't been good enough. And I think it says something that you're plus 351 at home. My biggest question in this game is, are you going to have a defense or an offense or neither if you're BYU? I think the other question that is terrifying for you is you have one of the best running attacks in the Big 12 at Texas Tech.
Yeah.
And Taj Brooks is a guy that I think is just an ass whooping as a running back. Like I love the way he runs the football. BYU's not going to be pretty. BYU is not going to be fancy and beautiful football to watch. But BYU can beat Texas Tech, especially in Provo. We're at 4,800 feet. That is significant. You saw that Texas Tech, I felt like, ran out of gas at YO.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is going to be a very, very close game, and I think BYU wins the game. And I think if my prediction comes true here, I think Joey McGuire's in a really difficult spot. He's going to have to make a case. Because if you leave this game and you're 3-6, you're in real trouble now. And I just don't, how does Texas Tech justify the fact that if they lose this game, I don't see any avenue for them to go to a bowl? How do you justify that if you're Texas Tech?
Yeah.
Being 3-5, 8 games, 3-5. And your losses are to Ohio, Oregon, West Virginia, K-State, and BYU.
Yeah, the Ohio game is going to haunt you.
Ooh, dude.
You know, and I think that's one of the biggest differences between these two. BYU's a 4-win team. So you look at BYU's schedule and it's like, okay, well, you lose to Texas Tech. You're definitely going to lose to Texas, right, at DKR. Then you've got West Virginia, which I still maintain is also a loss. I have a hard time seeing BYU going there and winning. But, hey, maybe they go there, get a huge win, 5th win of the year, and they just got to knock down one of the last 3, right? Because and really it's one of the last 2 because you're not beating Oklahoma, in my opinion. So I think it's either, you know, BYU's path is much easier if you beat Texas Tech because then you can go to Iowa State and win there and you can try to beat the Mullet at the Mullet's place. I mean,
I think the other thing that really is interesting about this game, it kicks off at 5 o'clock Mountain Time.
Yeah.
So you're playing in the dark. And I'm curious how BYU is very different at night than they are during the day.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. My feeling here is it's a really close game. If Keaton Slovis does his best TCU impersonation, Texas Tech is going to roll because Texas Tech is going to control the clock. And I think Texas Tech is going to try to run the football, especially if Morton doesn't play. You got to think they're going to run heavy here.
Yeah.
I like BYU to win the game by a field goal, but my confidence in this game is very low.
Yeah, I think offensively for BYU, you know, one thing you really got to look at here is this is a team that, you know, I just think is not, you know, regularly, you know, recently putting up 30 points. Like I look at, you know, this TCU game, my inclination is to throw the TCU game out, right? Because you started really poorly. Players all week said they weren't really in it. Okay, let's throw the TCU game out and give Keaton the benefit of the doubt, right? So I look at the other games. In your wins, you're scoring 30 points.
Yeah.
Like, if you think about this, outside Sam Houston, 14-0. Okay, whatever, throwing that out. But Southern Utah, you scored 41. Arkansas, you scored 38. Kansas, you lost and scored 27. So the number, in my opinion, for BYU to win a game is 30 points. At home, you get 3 points already. So the question is, can you do to Texas Tech what you did to Cincinnati? Can you come out and take control and play from in front? Because when BYU plays from in front, they're a much better team. It gives Keaton a chance to operate. But when they're playing from behind and the defense can have 4 or 5 DBs running around the secondary, that's big time trouble for Keaton Slovis.
But is Jake Strong going to throw 3 interceptions this week?
He'll turn the ball over this week, yeah.
27-24, BYU wins it, and I am not at all convinced that's going to happen.